Where there's disruption, there is opportunity. I was scrolling through LinkedIn last week and I came across Adrian Gore, who's CEO of Discovery, his speech at the annual sales conference. And of course, it's the first in-person sales conference that they've had for over 2.5 years. So it was a big thing. And I'd like to play you a very short video clip of his speech because he was talking about disruption and the fact that the narrative is so much worse than the reality.
In our country today, we need to be nation builders. We need to build the country. It's a critical issue. I'm often seen as, optimistic, and I'm asked, are you a naive optimist? I'm not. I'm a realist. But I very much believe in seeking positive signals. I very much believe in being a patriot, in building the country. And I believe very strongly that the potential is remarkable. And the key issue that we have is that the narrative is so much worse than reality. It is so much worse than the reality. And tactically, that's a good thing, because when narrative is worse than reality, there's opportunity. You agree? Prices are depressed, opportunities are overlooked. When narrative is better than reality, you've got a bubble. Things are overpriced.
So that was a really interesting little excerpt from Adrian Gore's presentation. And I think it's really interesting because it speaks to loss aversion. We don't like to lose things. And when we have something to lose, we are actually far more motivated to change, to make a change, to be proactive. So it really is a challenge to all of us because narratives, the stories we tell ourselves, actually drive the fundamentals in the market and they drive the fundamentals in society. So what are these stories that we're telling ourselves? Because those stories create our thinking patterns, and our thinking patterns inform how we feel about things, which informs what we do, the action that we take. So the stories that we live by can do a number of things. They can discount us, they can disqualify us, they can minimize us, and they can even paralyze us. Haven't you, over the past 2.5 years, listened to some of the narrative going on in your own head about this global pandemic that we've lived through? Haven't you been paralyzed at times, unable to move forward? By the same token, these same stories can actually launch us. And that's an expansive frame of mind versus what I was talking about before, which was contracting. And I've realized over the past couple of weeks that we really do have a choice as to whether to stay in a contraction mode or whether to choose to step out and expand. And I was speaking last week about the fact that we need to step out and make our circle bigger, to network more intentionally in order to meet more people, because as I said earlier in this episode, the people are where the opportunities are sitting. So please stay awake to your mental chatter, because that mental chatter is either going to give you perspective or it's going to shut down your perspective. So I'd like to invite you to visit nikkibush.com and go and download my Dancing with Disruption download. And it's a couple of pages, about 4 pages of very, very quick reading. And included in that download is my collateral beauty versus collateral damage exercise. So what is this, you may be asking yourself? Well, over the past 5 years or so, I have walked the journey of trauma, grief, and loss after the murder of my husband. And in this journey, I have had to recalibrate over and over again. I've had to regain perspective when my whole life had quite literally blown up in front of my own eyes. Many of you are going through change. With many of my clients, there are corporate restructures on the go. There are corporate buyouts on the go. As Adrian Gore was saying, when there is disruption, there is opportunity. And so with this kind of opportunity comes change. It's uncomfortable, but with the change comes possibility if we can see it. So one of the things that I did when I got really stuck about 9 months after my husband's death was I folded a piece of paper in half and I wrote collateral damage on the one side of the page and collateral beauty on the other. And in that particular moment, and this was literally 9 months after his death, it was Women's Day. And I had a Women's Month presentation coming up for a client, and they had asked me to talk about the 6 minutes that changed my life. And it was the first time I was having to package a very messy, non-linear life experience into something linear that made sense. And it pushed me into complete post-traumatic distress. But it actually turned out to be a good thing. It was part of my healing journey. But I could only see the damage in this moment of thinking, what am I going to talk to this company about? And I was started with the collateral damage and just stream of consciousness. As quickly as I could think of things without judging them, I wrote everything down on the left-hand side of the page. And I kept writing until I could write no more. And I got to 2 pages of collateral damage as a result of my husband's death. Then I switched over to the collateral beauty side of the page, and I knew I had at least 10 things that I could write down. So I wrote those 10 things down, and then I carried on. And I carried on, and I carried on, and you won't believe it, but I landed up with 5 pages of collateral beauty next to the 2 pages of collateral damage. And this was an amazing exercise in perspective, which shifted my mindset from getting stuck down the victim tunnel of, this happened to me, I didn't ask for it, I'm a victim of circumstance, to actually taking charge of my life and stepping into choosing to see this as not a full stop in the end of my life, but a comma, a pause in my life, a comma and dot, dot, dot. And the dots in my life were made up of new people, new opportunities, new experiences. And they were things I had to reach out for consciously. And that's what this exercise is all about. And so I'm gifting you with this exercise today. Go to nikkibush.com, go and get your free download, and do take some time to do the collateral damage, collateral beauty exercise for you. No matter what it is that you're going through, see if you can see both the positives and the negatives in your current situation. And everybody who's done this exercise has come back to tell me that they've had the same experience as me. If you really do have opportunity eyes and don't take on the victim mantle, then you do see possibilities and opportunities that perhaps were never, ever there before. So what story are you telling yourself? Try and avoid falling into that victim hole, because it gets very difficult to get out of it if you stay there for too long. And I promise you, the opportunities in that tunnel are very, very small. So that's a wrap from me today. This is the end of High Noon Live for Wednesday, and you can find more of your 27 minutes of inspiration tomorrow at midday on the same channel. Please follow My Big Smart Up on LinkedIn, where you will be given the up-to-date news as to who the guests are for the following day. Be the first to know and get on the bandwagon. Get your friends, get your colleagues to follow us, because we have amazing guests coming up every single day.